1 in 5 suffer.
Erase the stigma.
Brain difference is not a crime.
Mental health isn't just your problem.
It's our problem.
And now, Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays.
Wow, that's hot.
Was that loud? Am I loud? Wow.
Oh.
You know, I'm kind of projecting because my sinuses are stopped up. I just got back, been on the plane. Oh, I feel great, but the sinuses, I don't know. I guess I left them in Europe. Anyway.
So it won't do me any good to tell you that you're yelling. I'm Marla.
I'm excited. We have a great show for you guys today. Welcome to the show again. We want to remind you to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 and support our $1 Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign. We're excited, as you can hear it in my voice, and honored to have as our guest Mr. Mark Walberg. He's an actor, television personality, a game show host, best known for hosting Marla's favorite, Temptation Island, Antiques Roadshow, and the game shows Russian Roulette on Game Show Network and The Moment of Truth on Fox. His wife, Robbi, has been our guest back in July. We had so much fun with her. Now we're getting the other side. Wow. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Mr. Mark Walberg. Don't move.
Big shoes to fill. Stay right there.
When Dave and Marla get together, it's hot. Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and NAMI's San Fernando Valley believe it doesn't take much to make life a little better for our neighbors, coworkers, friends, our family members, even our children who suffer with mental illness. When you support our $1 Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign, you are doing your part to erase the stigma surrounding mental illness. For just $1 today, or $1 a day for 1 week, just $7, we can look forward to a future that does not include the unfortunate and uncomfortable stares, bullying, and the subsequent isolation that our loved ones who suffer with brain differences deal with. Text the word GIVE, that's G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 to donate. $1 Today Keeps the Stigma Away. Brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and NAMI San Fernando Valley.
Well, as we promised, we are here with Mark Walberg.
Yes.
We are so excited to have you on the show. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays.
Wow.
And see, you have your own applause section.
I'm telling you, this is the best reception I've ever had.
So we have to. This is something that is important for us to just jump right in. But I will say that this show is designed to share everybody's journey because we all have something, in my opinion, to impart and to give based on where we are traveling, what we may be destined to do. Mm-hmm. And so I know that, I really seriously was a huge fan of Temptation Island. It was one of the few things that I put it on my schedule. I'm going to be there. So excited to have you, but also excited to learn more about you. So let's start with that.
Okay.
Let's start with Temptation Island and how you got was that an organic? How did that find you in life?
I mean, you said it so beautifully that there's a journey that you're going to be on. I'm not so sure I'm driving that bus.
It's just along for the ride.
And I have no interest in driving that bus.
Wow.
And as soon as I let go of the wheel is when this started again. I did the show. I got a little poetic there, but I'll just,
I was about to say.
His
Wrote a song about it. Here it goes.
His book will be coming soon. Stay tuned.
From your mouth to God. So about 20 years ago, I did the original Temptation Island. Big Brother had come out, Survivor had come out, and then Temptation Island came out on Fox. I hosted it. Highest rated show they'd had in the history of Fox at the time.
Absolutely. Marla was glued.
By the next season, we were gone. I mean, we did another season, but nobody cared. And then they did a third season that nobody watched on cable, and then it went away, and I went on and did my career, and I'm doing what I can do. I was doing Antiques Roadshow for many years, and then I wasn't going to do that anymore. And then I was doing other jobs, side hustles and stuff, and then I realized one day how upset I was that every time I came back from a gig, I'm on the phone trying to send an email trying to get my next TV job.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in like an epiphany, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't work in TV anymore.
Wow.
Like I think I do. Like
Yeah.
my identity is,
Yeah.
like what I'm vibrating is, but
Right.
nobody's called me in years.
Right.
Out of what game am I running?
Right.
Right.
And that's when I had this eye-opening thought. I'm like, how about if I quit rather than feeling like a failure? I'm done with this chapter.
Wow.
God's always provided money and stuff for us when we need it.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily when we need it, but it comes at some
Right.
point. And I'm like, well, I'll just spend less time with that negative energy around being forgotten or irrelevant or whatever my story was. And I flipped the script. And then I said, I'm only going to do things that bring me joy. So for the next couple of weeks, and I don't know if Robbi told you about this because it was a scary couple of weeks for her, Robbi, my wife.
Right.
I did what I wanted to do that brought me joy. I gardened. I grew this big vegetable garden because I'm Southern.
In 2 weeks?
Well, I had
That's
planted-
pretty good.
I was gonna say,
I'm saying
what kind of GMO plants were you making?
Well, I can't give you my secret. I planted every year, but now I was just hanging. Like whenever I get stressed, I'd stop and say, just shift to something that brings you joy. And I would go out and look at my little vegetables and pick something and eat something or
Yeah.
whatever. I have chickens. I hang out with my
Yeah.
chickens.
Wow.
I started meditating. I made moonshine. I was like DIYing all over the place.
Oh my goodness! In
And my
every
wife-
category.
And my wife is like, "Are you going to come in the house?" And I said, "If it rains, there's nothing in there for me right now."
Wow.
Anyway, I found that I got lighter,
Hmm.
and then not 2 weeks after me making this shift, somebody hit me up and say, "Hey, who's your agent these days?" I'm like, "Nobody's asked me about my agent in a
Long
while."
time, yeah.
Make a long story short, it was a different show, but within a week of that, they brought back Temptation Island as a reboot on USA Network, and I read it, and I'm like, that show about killed me the first time I'm doing it.
Yeah.
They're not going to call a guy my age to do it now. Bless their heart.
Yeah.
And I got a call that they wanted to take me, have a meeting with me.
Wow.
And so the next thing I know, I had this meeting, but I'm completely detached. And I always
Yeah.
say it was like being on You ever seen Shawshank Redemption?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
All right, how Morgan Freeman goes in every time, I've rehabilitated, and they stamp rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one he comes in and he says, "Sonny, I don't even know what that means."
Right.
Do I feel bad about what I've done? Yes.
Yeah.
But am I rehabilitated? That's a word you made up.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead and stamp your paper. I think about that because that's how I was in that meeting.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all do the show, have a great time. If you want any information, I'm going to be of service to you, but I have no agenda here. 2 weeks later, 2 first-class seats with my wife,
There you go.
Maui, and all they want me to do, right, is wear sick clothes and talk about life with these
Wow.
young people. So
Wow.
back to the journey, I've always had a voice, I felt, that connects in an authentic way. That's how I've approached everything. I never would have written a script that said, let's go to this kind of ratchet
Right.
Yeah,
show
yeah.
where people are all over each other.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's where you're going to shine. That's where you're going to bring blessings.
Yeah.
Right? And then I started going, okay, I got you. I got the comedy here, but I'm willing to play that game.
But I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you, as a host of said type of reality,
Yeah.
you did stand out because you had so much. Your words were not the same inciting thing that we kind of see now. So you were one I would listen. In other words, it was almost like you were an interesting.
Dichotomy.
An introspective, stark.
Yeah.
It's not what you expect
Exactly,
from that role.
but-
Absolutely.
But early on, back when we did it, the OG, the original,
Right.
I realized that if I'm the guy trying to get you to cheat, like, let's see what
Yeah.
that's just, that's
Quote
dirty.
unquote juicy.
That's dirty on top of dirty.
Right. Right.
But if I can, my job as the host is to be, the proxy for the viewer.
Yeah.
So what I felt like is, look, I'm not going to make any judgment on anybody's relationship. That is a very personal thing. Everybody's got to do what works for them. But what I can do is have an authentic conversation about that with no judgment and with no agenda. And I even say that now that we're doing it 20 years later, and now, I'm older and people bestow upon gray hair respect that's
There you go.
undue. I tell them, I said, look, I'm committed to you. I tell them this off camera. I'm committed to you leaving this island in a better place than where you came.
Wow.
But be clear, I'm not committed to 4 couples leaving this island in a better place. I'm committed to 8 individuals finding their way.
Right.
If you're together, that's great. If it's not, that's
Oh,
great.
then it is what it is.
But
Right.
know that, and then I ask permission. Can I go there with you? Because what I'm going to give you is all of my love and commitment, but it may look rough.
So now let me ask you this. It sounds like you went on a whole mental wellness journey between the beginning, as you call it, the OG
I'm glad you're going
Temptation Island and the reboot. How much of that wisdom with that mental wellness journey can you bring to the new show?
All of it.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I realized later that there's this thing that as you get older you can start looking at. But there's who you show up to be and who you think you are.
Yeah.
But who you actually are being.
Yeah.
And I realized if I'm in a game show, if I'm in a talk show, if I'm in a variety show, whatever the job was, I was being the same guy.
Yeah, that authenticity.
Right. What felt right to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to act. I don't know how to front. I need to do my thing.
Right, who you are.
So here I come up to do this show, and now you got to realize that the people working on the show have been in reality TV for all the years I was out, and they have a way of doing things and an expectation of what the host is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I came in just spitting off the dome,
Just
doing
being
what I've
Mark.
been doing.
Just being Mark.
And that you see their eyes they're looking at me like, what the hell is he?
I can imagine.
Right?
Trust me.
But the long and the short of it is, the blessing of this show, it's a present wrapped in paper you didn't recognize, right? I didn't see this as an opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
And I was reluctant to be putting my opinion into the show. I was trying to facilitate what I felt was right. But the more I did, I realized there was a hunger from a younger generation for that advice.
Yeah, and little did the contestants know that they were getting another therapist that they can actually gain some wisdom from.
Not even a therapist, but somebody who was going to shine a light on their personal,
a sage, yes.
their journey.
Let me be clear about that, because I have much respect for the LMFTs in the world.
Oh, of course, of
right.
course.
And I'm not one.
Exactly.
And I tell them that too. I said, I'm a game show host.
Yeah.
So, this advice is worth what you're paying for it. $0. But I tell them, I'm older than you. Right?
There's experience and wisdom.
I've failed more times than you've been at bat.
Right.
Right?
Listen up.
If it fits, I tell them, if it fits like a jacket, wear it. If not, throw it away. I'm not trying to change you. I'm just having a conversation with you.
Absolutely.
And it has been the most joyous experience of my life, not only because of what the show is, but my executive producer, who I mentioned before we started, Trafari Williams, she just gets it, and she's committed to doing a show that looks and feels like one thing, but what it actually is very much a conversation about relationship that we all are in.
Wow.
Right.
So,
Well, I have a tag for you. I'm gonna let you use my tag. You know what I say online, Mark?
what's that?
I say I am not ever going to give you advice. I'm just going to share my experience, and that's essentially what you're speaking of. And that's the I want to because I think that what's interesting about you finding your mental wellness and your balance in the role that you have played and in this industry is unique in itself. And so when we come back,
Absolutely.
I want to talk about that. You beyond your garden. That's what we're going to talk about when we come back.
Beyond the garden.
Beyond the garden when we come back.
Might be the name of my new podcast.
Beyond the garden. We'll be right back.
It's time for the Mental Health Minute with Marla and Dave.
Oh no.
Dissociative disorders are characterized by an involuntary escape from reality, more specifically, a disconnection between thoughts, identity, consciousness, and memory. Almost half of adults in the United States experience at least one depersonalization or derealization episode in their lives, with only 2% meeting the full criteria for chronic episodes, with women being more likely than men to be diagnosed.
Symptoms and signs of dissociative disorders include 1. Significant memory loss of specific times, people, and events. 2. Out-of-body experiences such as feeling as though you're watching a movie of yourself. Wow. 3. Mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and thoughts of suicide. 4. A sense of detachment from your emotions or emotional numbness. 5. A lack of sense of self-identity.
There are 3 types of dissociative disorders defined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM. That is dissociative amnesia, depersonalization, and dissociative identity.
If you or someone that you know have or are currently experiencing any of these symptoms, please contact a mental health professional immediately. And remember, you are not alone.
Brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically live my personality on my scene.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know how you actually fill the shoes when someone says the title from the Beyond the Garden. Is that what it was, right? Beyond the Garden. So, Marla, why don't you take us beyond the garden?
Before I even go there, I have a confession to make.
Go ahead.
And my confession is that little teaser that you heard going in and out of this, sometimes I'm a thinker too. I just want to.
No.
I'm just saying, Mark. I don't want to just be a feeler.
It's all right.
I think and I feel. I just want to just. Anyway.
I battle the thinker.
Yeah.
I keep telling the thinker, stop thinking so much.
Trust me, that's what she says to me too.
So
you're wasting time.
Yeah.
So when I say Beyond the Garden, there's such a stigma when it comes to the industry of entertainment, and then the transition of your personal value or your presence when life does what life does and you may be disconnected from something, or life just moves you. I don't even think you're disconnected. I think life moves us forward in ways that you may not expect on your time frame. And so when that happens, the credit I'm going to give you now, because we exist in this industry for a very long time on the music side, is you have a very unique perspective and balance, because everybody doesn't make it. And I want you to really talk about that on a deeper level that's beyond your garden.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on that a little bit.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yes. So it is in show business. It's almost imperative and nearly impossible to avoid making your identity what you do. You know, so when I'm working, and Robbi and I have talked about this before, when I was working and I do a show, well, then I'm all swagger. And then she said, I love TV's Mark Walberg. Hiatus Mark Walberg on the couch, I could do nothing with, right? And so I spoke about that epiphany, and I think for me what it really was realizing that what if the thing you thought brought you value is no longer there? So if I'm not Mark Walberg, the TV host, who the hell am I? And so what I started to play with was there's two switches on the board. There's different names for them, but I call it acceptance and resistance, right? And that's it for me.
Wow.
And when my head opened up there, I said, hold on. It's like you were talking about the path. Well, we're so busy planning a path that we miss the big road a lot.
Absolutely.
And so acceptance of yes and, which is like that improv idea,
yeah.
is where I'm playing with, because I was telling the kids on the show, I'm like, I don't have time to plan. I'm up in my years. I need some magic to get to where I'm going. I need to skip some steps. I can't just do it in 20-year plan. Like that IRA long investment thing, that's not going to work for me.
Right.
I need to do some magic. And so for me, the magic became, and it's what I kind of talk about a lot, is if everything this is Robbi's phrase, by the way, that everything that happens to you happens for you. And then there's a quote from Hamlet that I use all the time. Never seen it, never read it, but I like to front like I do.
There you go.
So, but this quote landed for me. The quote is, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And what that means to me is that if I plan what I'm going to do, I'm limiting the possibilities that I don't even have the ability to imagine. I can't even dream that big.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can prove it 50 times in my career. My career is not a front door career.
Right.
My career is, hey, I got a call at 11:30, and this is not only not the way we do things in this business, this is how you don't do things in the business. And that I realized when I started to look at it is where all of my success came. Acceptance of what's right in front of me and just go.
Do it.
Leap. And so what I've come to realize is that my identity, like me, who's Mark, is nothing about TV.
Yeah.
I show up there.
Yeah.
But I'm the same dude, I think, when I'm playing golf, playing basketball, hanging out with my friends, being with my family. And there's versions of that guy, but it's always the same guy. Like,
right.
And that's what we can feel, that authenticity. And it almost feels like, I love doing what I'm doing, but if I'm not doing this, I still love being who I am.
Well, I love who I am, and what I'm doing is a byproduct.
There you go.
As opposed to, if I'm doing what I'm doing, then I love who I am.
Right, yeah.
And that's just not real love.
Who you are, and here's another quote from Marla, who you are and what you do are two totally different things. And for us and our kids, we really stress that. Yeah. It wasn't the what you do that we focused on. It's who you
Say
are.
that again, because there's a word I use a lot called intention. So there's want. I want to be ba 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 ba. To me, want is like when you turn the magnet around.
Yeah.
You think you're grabbing and it pushes everything away. Intention is different. My shift of who I'm being is something. Now, the particulars of what I do, I don't fill that in.
Right.
I'm being what my heart says to be. I'm being a facilitator of communication, a facilitator of healthy well-being, a facilitator of healthy, non-toxic relationship. It showed up in a dating show.
And you're being very patient with that chair that's just not wanting to cooperate with you. Hold on, Mark. Let's switch up.
I don't even have a problem with it.
Are you sure? Come on.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'll just stay down here.
This is the first time. Mark.
I feel like I'm at the kids' table.
Well, mine's been doing it all day, too.
No, I'm good. No, I'm
Big
good.
table. Look,
Hey,
you guys,
what did we just talk about?
You've never seen me get up before in the middle of a show, but I did it for Mark Walberg.
Hey.
Damn it.
And I'm accepting I'm supposed to sit in this chair.
And in solidarity, mine is going down as well as we speak.
So this is a Tony trick. I see now. Sweetie's over there with his remote going, all right, these guys are going down. I
Like,
mean that.
If you make a good point, your chair goes up, and if you make a bad point, your
Going
chair
goes down, right.
So here's
Exactly.
another question for you. With all that wisdom that you're bringing to the table, has anyone ever left the show and really just said, you know what, thank you so much for what you actually done for me?
90%.
Wow.
I mean, there are a couple guys in a couple of the seasons that I was in their face pretty hard. It didn't play out the way they had hoped. That, I mean, I had no shade, but it wasn't necessarily like, pals. But I will tell you, singles and couples that are on the show, it's a remarkable number that I keep in touch with.
Wow.
And when I say keep in touch, I'm liking what they're posting. They're
Right,
doing
right,
their
right,
best.
right,
If I
right.
see they're in trouble, I'm like, hey, you good?
Yeah.
Right.
But the number, like on camera this season that's going to air probably this summer, the guys, and usually it's the guys that are tougher nut to crack,
Yeah, it seems that way.
they hug me like I'm a brother or an uncle.
Wow.
Right? And what I love is that whatever the persona they've seen of me on TV, they're leaning into that when they're on the show now. They're expecting that.
You're a mentor.
Well,
You are the big brother or
Okay.
the uncle.
But this is exactly what I was saying earlier. It was never my intention.
Right.
My intention was to get paid in Hawaii with my wife. But
And wear cool clothes.
That was season 2. I wear a dress in season 1. I didn't care. Your boy was happy to get a check. But the real intention was I was grateful. And I had something to say. But really, I had questions more than things to say. And then as I started to interject, because I can't help myself,
Yeah.
right? And I forget it's TV.
Yeah.
I was surprised that then it came back from the network. They're like, do more of that Wahlberg stuff. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They say, and I'm like, well, I guess. So I'm grateful. But it's exactly what I was talking about. When you are being something,
Yeah.
things show up.
Yeah.
And you may miss them if you're still stuck in your plan of how it's supposed to look.
Right. Head down.
Right?
Blinders on.
Like if I were not evolved in this thinking, I might say that, look, if I want to do what I'm doing, I need to have a daytime talk show. I need to go into like the TED Talk world. I need to counsel or whatever it is. It's not go on Temptation Island again 20
Yeah.
years later in my 50s.
Yeah.
But what I'm learning is the more I just go, yes, I'm not driving the bus, let go, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
And your name alone is good that you have that Mark Walberg.
You want to talk about
I'm
pain?
not.
We could talk about
I'm
that.
saying that's I'm glad that you're balanced because that could
She
be a
had to
really
bring it
sketchy.
up.
That could be really hairy.
It knocks you down every day.
She had to bring it up.
but I
I'm
bet
glad you did.
I bet you what? I bet you that when you call to make a reservation in Hollywood to be in any restaurant,
My family knows not to drop it like that. Clear it
wow.
up. I don't want to walk in and them go, oh.
Our guest
we'll
is
be right
Mark
back.
Walberg. He's dropping wisdom. You cannot move. Stay tuned. All right. The fun music tells us what time it is. Marla, I don't see you. Oh, she's subtle in her pole dancing this week. Yes, it's ironic that this is the time for the poll question. So Marla's doing a pole dance. Marla,
It's
What was
not
the
really
poll
okay.
question?
You know what? I'm gonna bring a poll in
Now,
here
you know,
day.
we replayed Robbi's episode last week because I was out of the country. And so the last time we had a show, the week before that, Marla, what was the poll question?
The week before that was we asked what U.S. state has the highest percentage of adults with a diagnosed mental illness per capita. Is it New York, Michigan, or Utah? New York would be 19.52%, Michigan would be 20%, and
Well,
Utah would be 26%.
Well, you
We
just
can't
gave
even
it
play
away.
the game.
Why?
You just told us the percentage.
I just got back too from Mars.
Well, the good thing about it is, and I'm not sure, did our guest get that last week, the week before last? I don't think
We're
so.
too old to keep up
They
2
guessed
weeks
New
in
York,
advance.
didn't they? They guessed New York,
okay.
and it's
So
actually
it's
Utah.
Utah. Okay. We're going to
Utah
give you
has
another chance.
it's the state with the highest percentage of adults with diagnosed mental illness per capita. Wow. So now we're going to ask a real question this week, and Marla is not going to give the answer.
I'm going to ask it
Marla,
directly
one more
to Mark.
try, one more try.
Mark, okay, here we go.
I'm in.
If your diet regularly includes highly processed, fried, and sugary food and drink, how much higher is your risk of developing depression? 35%, 48%, or 60%?
60% is be my guess.
Okay.
You know, they're doing a lot of studies
We
about
had Dr.
gut health
Atkins on.
as it relates to your brain
Yeah.
health.
The book in the 70s, The Sugar Blues, the connection between sugar and salt and all that food and how it makes you feel.
A lot of evidence is leaning one way. Mark is hedging his bet with actual scientific evidence. We'll see next week if he has been correct. Don't forget to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021. Back to the show. That would probably would have been my guess too, especially now. It would have been my guess originally, but I think now that we've learning more about how gut actually that bacteria almost.
How would you? Don't you
It's
remember when we
kinda
were
weird.
kids?
It's almost
when we
like-
were kids, and what was the basic saying? You are what you eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would that change?
Am I a pizza?
That's why.
Am I an
that's
actual
why,
pizza?
Because I don't want you to see yourself that way. That's why I slapped the pizza out of your hand.
Oh, that's
You're
why
welcome.
you eat it. So
You're
are
welcome.
you a pizza?
No, I'm saving you. I'm your savior.
Okay, I don't know.
We all need one. We all need at least one.
He said,
Yes, we
"Wow."
do.
Okay, so we want you. I just want to, as you've given us so much wisdom, to be honest, and so much truth, and really honestly, thank you for the authenticity of everything that you're bringing to the table, because this is the stuff that matters.
It matters to me.
Yeah.
and that's the point. But
Connection. We live in such a toxic world right now.
we do.
We have hate agenda. We have, which is fear.
Yes,
Exactly.
And I don't touch that many people. But my intention is that anybody that comes in contact with me is going to get only love.
Yeah.
Right? Might
Yeah.
be tough love, might be sweet love, but
It's going to be love.
I am just, that's my entire thing.
Yeah.
TV it doesn't matter. I can do it on TV, but if you see me in the grocery store, I hope we're going to have the same moment.
So I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
Because of how you process, and because we're watching what TV has become and social media has become. So as someone who's been in it for a very long time, if you had a dream program, that you could create, what would be the premise? You don't have to don't give away anything.
Someone
but
said
no,
you
I
have
can't-
pure creative license. It's your own show. What is it going to be?
That question I never can answer. I've been a bloom where you planted kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that it's some version of, with the shades of what you see I'm doing on Temptation Island, but I'd like to have a show or some forum, I don't even know what it is, where we can talk deep and we can laugh, because I got jokes, and life is not always like that.
Exactly, it isn't.
And my problem has always been, not my problem, but what my experience has been, is that in show business, I've been the guy who can do that, right?
Yeah.
We need a guy to be a game show host. I can do that.
Yeah.
We need to be comedy. I
can
you.
do that.
Let's go deep. Let's go live. Let's do news. What I'm talking about now in this twilight chapter of my career is not what can I do, but what do I do?
Getting back to that intention.
Right. And my intention is to create a space where there's communication. There is a younger generation that has evolved, and I'm fascinated by this. And what I'm talking about are the age of the people on our show in the 20s, even the early 30s.
Yeah.
But they have come up with our parents' toxicity. So they've had to crunch racism, genderism, ageism, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like they may still have hate, but in other words, if you're trans and you're going to high school right now, in most of our cities, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right.
Right?
It's true.
Thank God.
You're
It's
right.
true.
What they do care about, I found, is don't bullshit me.
No, that's true.
So what
Their-
is beautiful about that is a
Their
hunger.
indicator is strong.
Right. And they don't care if I'm 60 years old.
Wow.
Right? They don't care if I'm a white guy talking to black people or a black guy talking to this guy or a gay or straight or any of that. They care about, are you bullshitting me or are you telling the truth? And I find that hopeful.
Yeah.
Right? And so my conversation with that generation is what I'm joyful about is that there is a hunger for
Don't.
that old uncle
Right.
Yeah.
or that brother
Yeah.
to speak some truth into some stuff. And I don't care where it comes from as long as it's real.
Right.
And that gives me freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think I
acceptance.
think there's such a premium on authenticity this day, not just in social media, but in entertainment all across the board. Because it's so much. I was shocked the first time I asked a young person, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And they said, "Rich."
Or famous. I speak
Rich
at,
or famous,
I speak
yeah.
at schools, and I remember telling the kids, I said everybody raise your hand. Do you know what fame is? Ooh.
Yeah.
And I said, fame is actually a reputation for someone who is excellent at what they do. And I said, does anybody know who Kobe Bryant? Basketball. And I said, exactly. Why do you know? Because he's famous. There's a difference between fame and infamy.
And notoriety.
And
Right,
exactly. And you know, those things are the things that we've lost because that's become a destination.
So that's the other side of that coin, that generation also is the influencer counting my likes and follows. But I'd rather look at the positive here is that there is a hunger for real talk. There is that generation doesn't go to the car dealership to buy a car. They go to CarMax because they don't need the bullshit.
Right.
Right? Pardon my language.
No, it's all good.
So what that has done is open a door for me to actually be able to speak to people that I probably wouldn't be sitting at a dinner table with.
Yeah.
And they're welcoming me. And
Yeah,
I'm learning
as long
from
as
them.
you can deal with that reality, the truth.
Well, and I call that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the show, I'm like, why are you here? And they'll say, we have problems with our relationship and we'd like to work it out. I'm like, don't
Right.
hustle a hustler.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that's part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But y'all want that blue check mark and you want to get the collabs and the free stuff and become famous. And then I say, and the path to both of those outcomes, right? Fixing your relationship and being rich and famous is the same path. Be real, because your audience doesn't care about anything you're faking. They want to know the real, right?
Wow.
And so I tell them, I say, you come here and you run whatever game you think you're going to run. But I have no game.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
you aren't going to be able to sustain that in the face of me. It
Right.
takes two to play catch in that game.
Wow. Absolutely.
Right? So do what you got to do, and we'll figure out what is really important. I tell them it's about defining. There's a bigger conversation, but on my show, because it's about love, I'm like, you can't have a healthy love until you define what that is. Most of us don't have a good example of that.
Absolutely.
Most of the women, especially that I see, have
Especially
terrible
nowadays.
examples
Absolutely.
of what love is supposed to
Absolutely.
look like. So we chase toxicity.
Right.
And what I'm trying to preach, and I laughed that I said preach because it ends up being that way a lot. If you saw the edited stuff, because there's hours of me just.
I can only imagine.
But it really is about. I used the quote from Ram Dass, who was a spiritual leader that my
Right,
wife
right.
turned me on to, and he said the only thing I can do for you in relationship is work on me. The only thing you can do for me is work on you.
Right.
And that's what I'm kind of saying to these guys. Is like, look, it's not about all the things you want. It's about a healthy definition of the fantasy of what you thought wasn't possible.
Right.
And once you can define it, you're not going to have to chase it. It's going to fall in your lap.
Yeah.
Because what if, let's play this game. What if there is a power higher than ours? Call it what you want. Energy, whatever. Physics, energy, or God, whatever.
Absolutely.
And what if the whole purpose of this higher power is for you to be happy? Like, that's all
That
it's
it was-
about.
yeah.
Not about the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, yeah.
Not about,
Right.
you eat this food or don't eat that food. I just want you, this child of mine,
To be happy.
to be happy. Now, if
Yeah.
that's it, the only thing stopping us from being happy is that we're not listening and we're getting in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because everything lays out in front of us, possibly not looking like it's the road to happiness.
Yeah.
But if you play the game, what if everything is destined to get me, the resisting human, to get to the place of not resisting and being happy.
Accepting what is.
Well, that's a church or synagogue that I'm ready to join right
Well,
now. I'll
and,
tell you
and,
that.
and Mark, you know what?
Say amen.
And I'm gonna leave my closing thoughts with you this way. I'm gonna identify what you've left behind when you talk about those 90% of people you still stay in touch with. You know what you create with
I don't know,
with
but
your
if you
truth.
make me cry, I'm gonna be angry.
I'm not. Everyone has a enormous amount of respect for you because people respect. It's the truth. Because even though you talked about love and tough love, what's left when your love is true is even if you don't like what I'm saying, you end up with a respect for me to be authentic enough to step forward in love to share those things. And so I say thank you for that.
And it's palpable
saying
because the cool thing is what we see from the screen, it's even more strong here in the studio. So once we got to meet you, I didn't want to do it like this, but I brought Mark here because he's the host. I'm going on Temptation Island. Sorry.
That's a whole other show.
He said,
Well,
I don't
just
know.
kidding.
I don't know if my show can handle the smoke.
Just kidding.
That's a lot.
well, thank
Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for
Absolutely.
coming in, and thank you just for enlightening us in both your words and your presence.
I feel that I was enlightened by you. And let me leave you with one thought.
Okay.
When people ask me, how do I come up with the things I say on the show? How do I know what to say when I'm on camera? I tell people it's about listening. I'm not actually speaking. I'm responding to a question that has not been verbalized. I hear you asking me a question. Emotionally, I respond to that. So I'm never leading that conversation. It's just deeper listening, which I think we can all do.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
You know what?
That's a great ending thought.
We couldn't have asked for better. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for taking. I
And
know
thank
you're a
you-
busy
and
man.
thank you for sending Robbi ahead to just chart your beautiful wife, who also has an amazing story.
And,
as well.
we're still coming to see those horses.
It could come, but I'll tell you what. Everything I say that sounds good on Temptation Island, she said it to me in the
course.
kitchen.
You know what, Mark? I believe that this might be, out there, but I think Coretta Scott had the dream. She just told it to Martin, and Martin shared it with the world, and that's what happened. That's what I think. It's my thoughts. You can't take it from me. It's
We
what I
know
feel.
this.
Absolutely.
We know this.
Those of us who are married, we know that it's absolutely true. Our guest has been Mark
Mark
Walberg. Next week, Cheryl Bentine of the Manhattan Transfer will be our guest. It just keeps coming, everybody. And you don't want to miss that either. We're going to have a lot of fun.
I'm going to come back for that one.
Yeah, please do. A good friend, and we're going to have fun. Thank you so much. Marla, what's your closing message?
My closing message is, don't just use Thanksgiving to be thankful. There's something that you can have. That gratitude is something that will get you through every single solitary day. There's something to be grateful for, and you're not alone.
Till next time, we're Marla and Dave. Remember, your overall health has to include your mental health. See you next week.